individuals helping other people out because of a dystopian system that lacks healthcare and support for the lower class, these tales of charitable moneybags are less heartwarming when you stand back and look at the system that is completely dependent on CEOs and corporations having to choose to help in a crisis. Because for every story about millionaire celebrities donating a fraction of their net worth to coronavirus relief, there are like 10 more examples of how the system is failing. So we thought it'd be a real hoot to go over those examples for your fun. This is fun for you. Let us start with the banks, because they're the most terrible. At the start of April, we got Trump's rollout of the Paycheck Protection Program, which is designed to help businesses with fewer than 500 employees take out loans to continue to pay their workers. But instead of getting the money directly from the government, businesses were required to send their applications to banks themselves. According to the Small Business Administrator Jovita Carranza, this would be an unprecedented public-private partnership, where the banks would get the money and then be in charge of reviewing the applications. A very smart idea that surely won't complicate the situation. I'm sorry, what's that, ear spider? I'm being told that this did, in fact, complicate the situation. Also, yes, I will leave a cup of my blood out tonight. God, good spider. For starters, banks just weren't prepared to handle the flood of businesses, having apparently only received guidance for the system hours before they were supposed to give out loans. Their web pages were broken, and some banks started limiting the employee cutoff to 50 workers instead of the planned 500. So there goes the argument that the private sector is more efficient. Then there was the fact that they are, banks. Businesses designed to make money off of other people's desire to have money, because you apparently need money to survive, which is weird, you know, this whole system and thing, we made it up so that we need it to not die. Anyway, one particular bank, a Bank of America, decided that it would be fun to reject any applicants who did not have existing loans with their bank, after everyone pointed out how ghoulish this was and how it, kind of defeats the purpose of the whole, plan. They lifted that policy, while still rejecting applicants who have any other borrowing relationship with another bank. Now remember, this is a government loan that is supposed to have no strings attached to it. It's supposed to be for everyone who needs it. But by giving the lending power to the banks, it suddenly, for some reason, become a game of favoritism and corporate greed. Bank of America, a business designed to siphon money off of the poor, shouldn't be in charge of a government loan, because they will use that power to try to make money, because that's what they do. It's like putting a shark in charge of chum distribution, or like a bank in charge of lending government loans. But I guess I'm being naive, considering that there's no realistic way for the government to set up this loan system quickly and during a crisis, and therefore had to outsource it to the banks. Sure, maybe if there was a government system that actually everybody loved and it was very useful, especially to people in rural areas, but really to everybody. And let's say people have been talking for years about extending that service to banking, despite one political party's mission to destroy that system. And let's say that system was struggling during a pandemic, but instead of bailing out that one, they were debating on whether or not to bail out the cruise industry. But anyway, getting a little off track here. The point is, there's no other choice. The government couldn't take care of this banking thing. Just like how the government couldn't do much about dwindling hospital supplies, groceries, and toilet paper. And while we'd be happy to live in a society where all those things were provided by private businesses, it sure seems that this pandemic has reminded us how incredibly vital those private businesses are to basic human life. Except for the toilet paper, because come on, people, you can just jump in the shower afterwards. Or if you have a dog, never mind. Okay, except for the TP, those other businesses are providing things we need to survive. They transcend law and culture and are just basic necessities: food, shelter, water, health. The first stuff you have to find while playing a game like Minecraft. Just like real basic stuff. We have a whole pyramid to explain these things to people. And yet, when pushed just a little bit, hospitals and grocery stores are buckling. If you're wondering why that happened, why both medical supplies and food are in short supply, it's for the same reason, which is that these providers were running their business like a business. You see, there was once a time where grocery stores kept months and months of supplies on hand, something that would have prevented the shortages we're seeing now. But thanks to a recession in the 90s and the frankly understandable need to cut costs, they stopped doing that a few decades ago, now carrying only 4 to 6 weeks worth of food. Companies didn't want to spend a lot of money on warehouses and supply trucks and labor, so they downsized all of that. And it wasn't just groceries, but all sorts of retail and supply companies that did this, including hospital supplies, like face masks and protective gloves. As these businesses looked to cut costs, they relied more and more on overseas manufacturers and algorithms designed to optimize efficiency by ordering the minimal amount of product in what is called a just-in-time supply chain. So when the coronavirus hit, food retailers were selling 3 months worth of product in just 10 days, an amount that no grocery chain actually had stored up anymore. And the thing is, as a business, we can't really fault them for operating as efficiently as possible. That's what businesses do. But it just so happens that they are businesses that, once again, supply things we need to survive as a species. So it's like kind of odd. You know, it's odd that we live in a country where those basic needs were allowed to be controlled by the private sector, whose main concern is making money and beating out competitors. And that under the slightest bit of pressure, those businesses fail very easily. Now, if you're saying, well, hey now, good Sir News, public hospitals aren't exactly terrific, you're right. They aren't exactly terrific, because we haven't been funding them for a long time now. Meanwhile, smaller nonprofit and for-profit clinics and hospitals and practices have fought for years against large private hospitals and companies like Rite Aid and CVS taking over and absorbing them. We haven't paid attention because it was a slow process that coronavirus is now speeding up. So over time, the government has given less money to public hospitals, while private for-profit companies got bigger and bigger. And what's quite interesting is that both sides have been equally blown away by coronavirus. Both private and public hospitals are being hit equally bad. The consequence is that they are now struggling to pool their staff and resources, something we now have to cobble together a plan for. It's a ridiculous free-for-all system for competing businesses that also, for some reason, happen to be essential to our survival as a species. And we haven't even talked about the supply shortage, once again caused by these hospitals and manufacturers running on maximum efficiency for profit purposes. Companies like 3M, who supply vital face masks for medical workers, don't have any national loyalty or obligation to fairly decide which hospitals get the new supplies they're making. They are a business. Which is why Trump has to actually try to threaten them into providing masks exclusively for the United States instead of the global market they serve. We're literally stealing supply shipments meant for other countries because we allowed a system where life-saving medical supplies were distributed with the same mentality as iPhones. Like, don't you think it's a smidge out of sorts that when a German company started developing a coronavirus vaccine, the President of the United States apparently tried to bribe them for exclusive use? And when you think about it, the weirdest part of that story isn't necessarily Trump, but rather that we have a situation where there are companies with the power to sell, for profit, essential life-saving medicine that we have to bargain over. We really don't talk enough about how messed up the pharmaceutical industry is. Enough being all the time. All the time is how much we should be talking about it, until it's not the way it is right now. Hey, did you hear the one about a pharmaceutical manufacturer announcing that, as a special treat for all you corona heads out there, they are capping the out-of-pocket price for insulin that normally could go for thousands of dollars, even for the insured? at only $35? A thing they could apparently do at any time and just didn't want